Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Al Getler here to you, live from Vermont, where I had a great snow video for you. Because I got to tell you, it is coming down. I look out the window out there right now. It is literally raging with snow. So, love to hear where you're watching from today. Go ahead and put that in the comments section, whatever platform you're on. Tell us, did you get hit with this storm? It came right across the country. Maybe you had it 2 days ago. We love to talk about the weather, right? But I can tell you right now, we are talking about the weather here. I've got an amazing show for you today. I've got three guests, and it is so exciting to have them here. The first person that's going to join me today, she is a friend that I know from my time in the Boston area. She's a Chamber of Commerce president and CEO. I'll bring her on for a proper introduction. Joining us right now is Danielle McFadden. Hi, Danielle.
Hey, Al. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are things in Massachusetts?
Things are good. We also got some snow, but it was when I woke up this morning, it had stopped, but we got about 20 inches here in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Man, do I miss those days, right? Tomorrow it'll be a beautiful blue sky kind of a day, usually when the storm clears. So, yeah, good stuff. Well, Danielle, you have always been someone that has been kind of on top of their game when it comes to all kinds of things, but certainly usually using digital, social media, video, and all that. So I saw something that you put on LinkedIn, and I thought I would talk to you about this. And it was pretty cool. But why don't you tell folks a bit about the background first, then I'll put the graphic up there on the screen.
Well, I came into January. I always love the beginning of the year. I feel like it's a new opportunity to set goals, be excited, implement some new things. And I was just feeling very optimistic that day. So I put a survey on LinkedIn to ask people how they were feeling professionally. And then you reached out to me about that. And I think you're going to show that graphic so we can talk a little bit more about it.
I am going to show that graphic. Yeah. And I commend you for doing that. You use a feature on LinkedIn that people don't know about necessarily. You use polling. And here's the results of your poll. You asked, as we start to wrap up the first month in 2021, how are you feeling? And here is Danielle's optimistic poll here. And I got to tell you, when I read it, I went, well, I'm pretty optimistic. And so I clicked the button, and I was kind of happy to find out that people were generally optimistic, and then too pessimistic, 2%. But then folks are saying the jury was still out. And of course, that makes some sense. So how do you read that when it comes to optimism versus jury is still out?
Well, as you're talking about that too, I'm wondering if I had put it on a different social media platform, how the results would have been if I put it on something like Facebook. But in terms of the optimism, I was feeling optimistic because of things like the new rounds of PPP and EIDL. Massachusetts put out a growth capital grant program for small businesses. So all those things are helping businesses right now. Also with the vaccine that just came out, we're hoping that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're thinking spring. So I think that's where the optimism piece is coming from. In terms of the jury still out, I think people just don't know, are these sources of funding going to help put my business over the hump? When am I going to get vaccinated? What's that going to look like? So I think that's kind of where the jury still out lays. But I'm going with the optimism.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. I mean, I think that, the new president certainly has big plans as far as, the vaccination goes, right? That's the thing that opens it up. I just saw this morning, Senator Dianne DeZiglio was kind of taking the governor on to task on the plan there in Massachusetts. And I get it. Every state, except seemingly for West Virginia, is still kind of rolling around in there for West Virginia. We got to talk to those guys. They've got it set. Like they're already kind of moving along with their vaccinations. So that's pretty cool. But, here in Vermont, I'm actually a first responder in EMT, and I've just been qualified to give the vaccines. I haven't done it yet, but we are literally just ramping up. So I think that there's lots of reasons for people to be optimistic. So I appreciate you doing that survey. Really quickly, tell me what's going on with the Chamber of Commerce, what's coming up as folks see you here on LinkedIn Live.
We are keeping busy for sure. Everything right now is digital, but we are, like you said, utilizing the power of social media, our website. We're doing a ton of stuff with Zoom. So we're trying to make things accessible for everybody. And I love the fact that when we go back to normal, we'll be able to kind of do a hybrid model, offering stuff virtual, but also in person. So I'm excited about the future because I feel like the COVID-19 pandemic has really forced us to move on to the organization we would have been 5 years from now. And it just escalated it, which I'm seeing as a positive.
Danielle, I couldn't agree with you more. Everything you just said, and I've watched you for years bring that chamber along with, the latest in social media technology, video. I know you said you're bringing back the YouTube Awards, which was always one of my favorites. So I commend you for that. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. I appreciate the survey. I'm going to keep an eye on you on LinkedIn because I know you always have some great stuff going on. And we'll talk again real soon.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks for being here. Well, I got to tell you, if every Chamber of Commerce had a vibrant director like Danielle, I think business would be in a pretty good place. I always enjoyed working with her when I lived down in the area, so it's great to keep in touch. And that's the power of social media, right? I get to keep an eye on what Danielle's got going on. So the power of social media. I was thinking literally, last week about career transitions, about finding jobs, about the job market. I'm a fervent reader, and I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. And of course, every day we're talking about jobs, right? Well, having a job right now is great. So congratulations to everybody that has one and is doing a good job. But even in the middle of this, you might be thinking of changing jobs. And on top of that, you might be even looking for a job that you're currently out of work, or maybe you got laid off and you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to go back to doing what I was doing. Well, it's a whole new world out there every day. Joining me now is Katherine Miller. She is a career transition expert. Let's get her on here and find out what that means. Hey, Katherine.
Hi, Al. How you doing?
I am good. All right. I got to ask you the obvious right out of the gate. What is a career transition expert?
So a career transition expert is someone who has studied a lot about life transitions. My background in psychology has really prepared me to help people at different stages of their life make career transitions into totally different industries. I also have a background in resume writing and branding. And so we put together an entire strategy for people who are really trying to pivot. They find themselves in really unfamiliar territory with modern job searches, where hiring trends, oftentimes they're just completely lost about what to do next. So a career transition expert helps you take the strategic steps that you need to get where you want to go.
Okay, great. So when do I reach out to you if I am considering a transition? Do I reach out to you the next morning after I go, okay, I'm going to change jobs? When do I reach out to you?
Typically, the best time to reach out to someone like myself would be if you've been job searching for a little while and you are not getting the response that you think you should be. In other words, you're very qualified. It's maybe an easy transition and you're just not getting results. The other time when you would wake up and roll right out of bed and want to speak to someone who can help you transition would be if you're moving into an absolute different role. If you're just really, you've been in your career for a long time, you're an expert in one industry, but you're trying to transition into something very different. That would be a time when you would roll out of bed, say, oh, I want to move from CEO to acting or painting. And I, just really don't know how to make that transition. It's a tough one.
Have you had someone move from CEO to acting?
I have had executives come to me and move from very technical fields over to creative fields, their passion, their dream. Once their children graduate, move on, they're doing their encore careers where they are shifting just a very big difference, massive difference in industries. Absolutely. And it's very exciting and fun.
Yeah.
I love doing those. Yeah.
That's incredible. I learned that term encore career from you, just chatting about it. So I think I'm on my fourth encore career at this point. But anyway, and you also mentioned you're a psychologist, and I'm thinking to myself, all these terms, I don't know if you know, I'm also a professional ventriloquist. So there's probably a lot of
work. I did not know that.
Well, you're here, Katherine, because you and I have something pretty exciting planned. And yes. I'm really, really super excited about this.
Me too.
We are going to do a career transition 3-segment. I'm getting all choked up about it. 3-segment series over the next 3 Wednesdays that we're going to invite folks to join us and be a part of that. So can you take us through the 3 areas that we are going to touch upon during these next 3 weeks?
We are going to touch upon the ATS, the applicant tracking systems that seem to have more myths surrounding them and more fear, I think, around them than any aspect of a career transition or even career growth than anything else. And then the next week, I believe we're going to go around finding the right career for you. So finding the right career to fit not just your personality, but your interests and your overall life plan, put you where you want to be, how to do that, how to determine where you should go when you're making a shift. And then on the third week, we're going to go over ageism, which is another biggie. I mean, that's a huge right now, of course, with various companies. What's that?
So
There you are.
let me ask you this. We had a little sound glitch there. Let me ask you on going back to week one. What is a applicant tracking system? What does that mean?
So the applicant tracking systems really are just referring to the software that companies adopt. There are 200 of them. So there is a huge variance in how these work, but there's just the software that companies adopt to take in their pool of talent, filter things out to a degree, and put people where the system feels they best belong as far as jobs are concerned. It's mostly for compliance.
So do I invoke the term AI into this? Is that an automated,
It depends on the system itself. Some of the enterprise systems, the big ones, there's some big ones like Workday, Brassering, Telio, they do have a little bit of what we might think of as AI. But overall, the systems are much less daunting than people think that they are. And there's a lot of misconceptions about them. Yeah. So if you can get past that, it really takes out a big chunk of fear for job seekers and just some basic understanding of how they work.
Yeah. Okay. And then finding the right career, obviously, you talk about not only the encore career, but, there are people who literally go to school, get a major. I'm going to be they spend, they're in their 20s. They've spent a couple of years going, oh crap, I have made the wrong decision. And then, and then there are, like you said, there are people who've been at something 20 years and they decide to change. So seeking out that fulfilling career, we got into this conversation once and it's kind of interesting. I guess on an ecosystem standpoint, not everybody can be in a perfect career. Is that right? I know that's a big philosophical question, but there are some people that have to do jobs, that they're qualified for, and it's a sticky subject, right?
It is a very sticky subject. I personally believe that everyone can be in a job, I guess, as long as you're not trying to be an astronaut, but you hate science, that won't work. Right. But I think that everybody can be in a fulfilling job in just about any industry. And as we age and as our life circumstances change, many people do find that they want to pursue something different. They no longer need to be in the job that they needed a certain income or they needed whatever they needed. So I think that people can find a job that is fulfilling for them as long as they are doing it strategically.
Got it. And then this last one that we'll touch on the third week. I know, I made some fun, but certainly there are people who are in the second half, the back nine, whatever you want to call that part of their career where, they definitely are vibrant. They definitely want to do things, but, people who are hiring don't see beyond the gray hair, right?
Right. Yeah. Ageism is a really hot topic right now because it's just, there's such a huge leap in technology advances that it leaves some generations behind. It alienates other generations from those generations. So I think that what we're really seeing in here is more of a gap in understanding and a gap in learning how to communicate and how to bring technology into that and implement that into your strategy and master it. So while ageism does exist and you do see it, I would argue that it is not pure ageism that is as common as people think that it is.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Once you get around a couple of things that are big red flags that really aren't pure ageism, just not liking older people or older candidates. My clients often find that it's much easier to get into roles once they do a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah. Well, I think technology is a big part of that, obviously, still.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
people of a certain age need to just, embrace technology, learn and do things. So, another thing too, our upcoming guest is messaging me in the chat, and he wanted to know, we're going to talk about college degrees as a part of the job market. And that's a great question. Do you need one? Should you spend all that money today on a bachelor's, a master's? It's a great topic to talk about, especially as I have a daughter that's heading into school, college, my last one. And, the question is, do we pay for the big Ivy League 4-year school, or do we go to the local college, get the bachelor's, and then go from there? So all of this must play into career choices, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that is a huge, I personally have 2 children, both in college right now. And that's a huge argument between them. Some see the value in the college, some don't. But that actually ties into one of the elements of the ageism argument, because younger people also suffer from ageism to a degree. And they are thinking now, well, this is a waste of my money. But certain generations came up before there were any recessions. They entered into a strong job market. They didn't have a lot of competition. And many of them now are seeing what happens whenever you are in a job market where things are flooding, you're flooded with competition. What's going to differentiate you? That becomes very, very important. So I think that the generation that came up and said, oh, we can Google that, or we can just learn that in a book, is beginning to see the value of some sort of differentiator, because you can't just say that you know something with no litmus test, no oversight. No. I just read it. I just figured it out. Sometimes that formal education becomes the key to getting the job over when there are job markets like this, and they had not experienced that before. This is the first time, and it's very shocking.
Well, and we'll get into more of this. I mean, I've literally hired hundreds of people, and where they went to school is less important to me than what they can prove to me is a track record of not only experience, but, interest and enthusiasm and creativity, and, finding what they're about to do to be very important, and to be a part of my team for that. So I can't wait to have this conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to start this tomorrow at 1 p.m. Here on LinkedIn Live and the other platforms. I think it's going to be a conversation that, to me, it's funny. I mentioned to you, I had a person that used to work with me just reach out to me and talk to me about her process. So it may be even more exciting about this. So Katherine, I am going to see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time, here on LinkedIn Live. It's going to be great. Again, tomorrow, week 1, applicant tracking systems. The following Wednesday, finding the right career. And finally, the topic of ageism. Does it exist? How does it exist? I'm really curious about your thoughts on this one. This is going to be great. Good.
It's always a hot topic.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here today. Keep warm wherever you are, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care. Well, I got to tell you, I'm excited about this. I really am. The hiring process to me is I've been through it a lot. I've hired a lot of people, like I just said. And it's constantly changing. So it's good to have more information about that. Well, I'm going to transition myself to the next topic. But before I do that, I'm going to play a video for you that's going to kind of set this gentleman up, who's going to join us in 1 minute. He's a good friend of mine. I owe him a lot during especially the pandemic time. But watch this video and I'll be right back with him.
So are you ready for the best year you've ever had in 2021 in sales? Are you ready to double, maybe triple your income and help customers like you've never had before? My name is Allan Langer, and I've been doing sales coaching and training and have been in the sales profession for close to 30 years. And on February 16th, I have my very first virtual sales master course coming up, which will be a 7-week course unlike anything you've ever seen before. This is not going to be your grandfather's sales course where you're going to learn basic closing and objection handling techniques, none of that stuff. This is going to be, how do I talk to a customer, psychology, science, and human behavior sales that is really needed today to be successful. Click on the link below. That'll take you to the information video. You can check it out. But I guarantee you, and this course does come with a guarantee, that if you take this 7-week course starting on February 16th, your sales will increase, your customer reviews will increase, and your referrals will increase. Give it a shot. I hope to see you then.
So, I don't even need to bring him on, right? Because that just told it all. But no, I will. Let me bring on to the conversation here, Allan Langer. Hey, Allan.
You better bring me on. I've been sitting here for a half hour.
Bothering me in the private chat and everything. My goodness. No, that was a great question you asked about with Katherine on here about the college degree question. I just love it. It's a great. This is gonna be. I'm so excited. I mean, I only met Katherine last week. I feel like I've known her 100 years because she's just really good at what she does, and this is just going to be fun stuff. So, but you know what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I have 2 kids myself, and one is in college, and one is starting next year. And we debated. My daughter, who's starting next year, she wanted to go to Arizona State and Florida State and everything. And she finally decided that, you know what? Let's just start at the community college and figure out what you want to do first. Why spend $40,000 a year on trying to figure that out and then go from there? And that's what both of them are going to do. So, I think that's a good way to go.
As you always do, you just you gave me a thought. There is a wonderful guy who is the president of the Northern Essex Community College. Good friend of mine, Lane Glenn. We're going to bring Lane on here in the next week or two, and talk about that. And the reason why you stoked that thought is I had a couple of employees at my company in the Boston area that I sent to him, and he talked to them. He's a college president. And he started going to college at his community college back in Oklahoma. And it's just a great story. So I'm so glad you unearthed that in me. That's great. Good. Allan, let's talk about you. It's all about Allan right now. That video, as always, is great. You've got the sales mastery class coming up. You've been my guest before, but give everybody the 30-second version of your sales career and why, what makes you capable of a mastery class.
So I only started getting good at sales when I stopped listening to the corporate training that was forced down my throat and forced down everyone's throat. I'm not saying training is not needed. There's a process that is needed at every company, but what needs to be trained more is how to talk to a customer from a helping mindset rather than a selling mindset. Everyone is trained to make the sale no matter what. No one is ever trained to build a relationship or help a customer. And when you belong to a company, especially a larger company that's numbers based, you got to hit your quotas, you got to make your calls, you got to do your touch points. All of this stuff turns you into a robotic pitch salesperson that nobody wants to talk to. If companies can start forgetting about that stuff and focusing on the importance and the quality of the touch points, not the number of the touch points, their sales will go up. And more importantly, and there is more important than sales, the customer reviews and feeling your customers have for your company gets better. Because if you don't have that, you don't have a future. And it all goes hand in hand. The days of churn and burn sales where I'm just going to get a sale and then never worry about it again, they're gone. Because if you want other sales, you need great reviews and good customer retention. Yeah.
Well, that's so key and important. And I know too, your sales career, like mine, but not to the extent of yours, going into people's homes and selling a product, it's got to be one of the hardest things to do flat out in sales. And, I've been doing some Googling, Allan. I am trying to find the trivia. What's the word I'm looking for? The history of the greeting cards I used to sell door to door when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And I belonged to a Facebook group from my old hometown. And one of the guys that popped up on there, his mom was one of my best customers, which was kind of funny. So I keep thinking it was a student sales leadership program or something. But, you had a close rate of going into people's homes, selling a product that was astronomical. And a quick, funny story about you trying to share that knowledge and what you were told by your sales manager.
So I averaged my average closing rate, and I hate that term, but my closing rate was about 63% in my career. But this one year I was actually pretty much around 70, about midway through the year. And there were 2 new reps that were struggling. They were under 20%. And I went into my sales manager at the time and I said, hey, you know what? These 2 guys are struggling. Why don't you let me, I'll ride with them and see if I can help them out. And he said, no, I don't want you to go near them. I was like, what? He goes, they need to learn the process. They need to figure out the process. What you do can't be taught. You're a field salesman. Don't go near them. So here's a, not to pat myself on the back, but a 70% closer saying, I want to help the guys that are closing under 20%. And he told me not to go near them.
Don't screw up those below average people, Allan.
Yeah.
Come on now. It's mind boggling to me. And you know what? I have been in that situation. We could go into the management aspect of selling, of anything with management, and how do you figure out why some people do things the way they do them. But I just love that. And Allan, you've got a lot of great sales acumen. You're just a natural at a lot of what you do. And this sales mastery class coming up is pretty exciting stuff. Where do people go to sign up for it?
So the easiest thing to go is I have a flow page. I could send you my website, but actually you can get a quicker link on this page. It's called flow.page.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that right now. You tell us what it is, and we're gonna put it on.
It's the https:// then flow.page/Allan Langer, my full name. What that does is it's like a link tree, but it takes you to a page that has all of my links, my homepage, my book. But right on the top is the mastery course, and it'll send you to the video of the course so you can check it out. And if you want to sign up, you can click on the link in the video to sign up. So there it is. Flow page at Allan Langer. Yep.
Yeah, /Allan Langer. You're going to find not only information about the course, but you're going to find information about Allan. And I got to tell you one more thing about Allan that I will always give him credit for. I met Allan through a guy named Dave England, who is actually a live streamer like I am. And he said, you should join this group that Allan's put together. It's kind of centered around LinkedIn. And I thought, well, I don't know. What is this? Is it going to be a pyramid scheme? What's going on here?
Another networking group.
And I joined this group every Friday morning at 11. We meet on Zoom. You put together the most amazing speakers. In fact, I'm glad, Katherine's hanging around backstage because we need to talk to her. You bring some amazing speakers into the group, and it is just such a fantastic way for my network has grown. How many people? 40 people? Is that what it's grown by?
Oh, the group actually has about 70, but the active, there's anywhere from 25 to 40 every Friday join. Yeah, they're pretty active.
But I have new friends in Trinidad and Tobago. So I mean, I other than eating dinner at an airport bar as I'm traveling the way I usually do and making a friend that way, there's no way I would have met someone like Daya, who was one of our guests here on the show. And you've just put. So my point is to our audience: never ever stop networking. I tell this to college students all the time: learn how to write, learn how to speak, learn how to network. Allan Langer, you are one of the tops when it comes to helping people network. And I really do hope that we get a lot of people, really signing up. Let me put it up on the screen again. Reach out to Allan in multiple ways, but sign up for the Master Sales Class at flow.page/Allan Langer. And you are going to connect yourself to a guy with a great amount of knowledge. And Allan, I so appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you having me on again. I really do. Thank you for the publicity. And here's, can I leave one tip about networking?
You can do whatever you want, buddy.
Here's what I would say about networking. The misnomer about networking is you want to go out and talk about yourself. You don't want to do that. Networking is about helping other people. It's about connecting, but sharing your knowledge and helping the other person. If you do that, that's when proper networking comes back. It's about education. It's not about the networking groups that all they do is share their business card and talk about how you can get in touch with them and put up their email addresses. Those aren't the networking groups you want to be in. You want to be in a networking group where everybody helps everybody else, and you'll be amazed on what happens.
Well, it's funny you say that. Danielle, who was my first guest, she's the type of Chamber of Commerce president that's not doing that. I'm sure she has that as an aspect of what she does because people think she does so many other things to connect people, and that's so true of what it's all about. So, and you certainly taught me a lot of lessons in that one. Allan, I'm going to have you head backstage so I can say a proper goodbye. We'll chat with Katherine here in a minute. But for the rest of you, Allan's taking off. So, Allan, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Al. Again,
all right,
I appreciate it.
Take care. Well, what a great time today. I've had, been blessed with a lot of great people in my network. I hope you enjoyed today's show on this snowy day in lots of the country. We'll be back again tomorrow with Katherine Miller to talk to her about the career transition subject for the next 3 weeks, each Wednesday. Watch for that. Talk to you again real soon. Take care.